Hi there, creative friends. So glad you're here. In this video, I want to share some thoughts and updates about my mixed media journey so far. And I also want to showcase these water-based markers from Kuretake, the Zig Clean Color Real Brush Pens. Basically, I'm having the time of my life. Sometimes I wish that I started this mixed media journey a long time ago, but better late than never. And I'm still happy that I started with watercolor first. So anyway, I've been filling out this mixed media sketchbook on my own and during my live streams. And it's just been amazing. I've been learning a lot about myself, and I'm learning how to really just embrace the imperfections, be okay with mistakes, and really using a sketchbook as it's intended to be messy, to be for play, to be for exploration. I think we have a lot of hangups when it comes to sketchbooks. There are people who absolutely dislike sketchbooks, and that's totally okay. I completely understand because I was one of those people too. I preferred loose leaf paper and I really didn't want to, use a sketchbook. It seemed too permanent, if you will. But I've also just tried to kind of let go of those thoughts because I really felt like it was holding me back. So I'm back to, just using a sketchbook and being okay with it. So I'll talk a little bit more about my mixed media journey just as I'm going along. Let me share a little bit about the Zig Clean Color Real Brush Pens. So these brush pens were launched all the way back in 2009, actually. So they've been around for quite a while. There are now 180 colors. Can you believe it? And I only have 48. There are definitely some colors that I have my eye on, but yeah, so far I'm just gonna swatch the 48 that I have. I did receive this product for free, but it wasn't for any kind of sponsorship or anything like that. I received them because I was teaching a workshop at the Chicago Planner Conference back in November of last year, and they wanted me to feature these products and show how to use them for illustration. So yeah, that's why I have them. Anyway, these brush pens basically are water-based dye inks. So think of it as if you're painting with liquid watercolor, because usually liquid watercolors are dye-based. So they're very saturated, as you can see. The colors are so punchy. So I'm actually creating 2 swatches per pen, and I'm actually dipping it into the water jar, and then that way, that extra water around the bristles creates dilutes the color a little bit more, and then it creates a lighter value. This is just one of the ways that you can use these pens. They're so versatile and they're so fun to work with. A lot of people feel like these are good for lettering and calligraphy, and I partly agree with that. I feel like the bristles are a little bit too short and too synthetic. I don't know how to describe it. Like they're a little bit stiff, like they're not as soft flexible. So if you were to compare it to like the Tombow dual brush pens, they're just a little stiffer, like they bounce back faster. So I personally don't like it for brush calligraphy. I think for lettering, that's great. If you're doing a sans serif font or, just something a little bit more illustrated. And with that, this is great for coloring, for painting, for using it like an actual, brush. Think of the brush bristles as being a little bit like stiffer. So because these are water-based, like you can use them almost like you would watercolor paint. So you can layer on top of them, you can lighten them, you can mix them, whether it's on the brush itself or on the paper, or you can even use a palette and mix the colors as well. I don't do all of that in this video because again, it's not technically a review video. I just wanted to kind of show you just how these colors swatch because they're so pretty. Yeah, I'm just going to continue to show you all this rest of the swatches. right, so as I'm swatching, yeah, let me share just a little bit more about my mixed media journey. So I brought these back out of storage because I wanted to explore different wet mediums for my mixed media journey. So just after kind of exploring and learning some more on my own, when you do mixed media, you want to either use a combination of wet and dry media, or just wet media, or just dry. There's really no wrong way to do it. But for me, I found that I like to work with wet media first, and that usually is watercolor paint. And so I would normally just use my watercolors, or I would use gouache or acrylic gouache. And again, I've shown these in my previous live streams. And then I usually like to, for my second layer, I use a dry medium like colored pencil, the Neocolor wax pastels, acrylic pens, glitter pens, etc. And that's just kind of what works for me. Sometimes I use another wet medium like as my second layer, but usually the final layer, whether it's the second, third, maybe fourth. I don't think I've done 4 layers just yet, but if I do multiple layers, then usually the last layer or the final layer is the dry medium. So yeah, I decided to bring out these brush pens because, just in case I'm ever like out and about, like it is kind of a lot to bring my watercolor paint, my brush, a water container, like all of that. But these markers are pretty easy to carry. I only have to carry a couple at a time, especially if I just want to focus on a certain color palette. And I can just bring a handful of my colored pencils, maybe a couple acrylic pens, and that's it. I mean, these are not going to replace my watercolor paints, but they're just a great way to do some quick illustration. Yeah, but they're really just meant for, at least for me personally, they're just meant for sketchbooks. These water-based dye inks are also not light fast. And again, light fastness means whether they're going to fade over time when they're exposed to light. And so when they're not light fast means that it will fade over time. So again, these should not be used for, anything that's going to be put on display or any kind of like final works. And if someone were to commission me to paint something, I would definitely not use these either. So just some things to consider. But again, if you're just using it for like even journaling or yeah, just for illustrating or just for your greeting card for a friend or family, like these are totally worth it. So I realized that I kind of like using these clean color real brush pens as the first layer because I can spread the color really easily, really quickly, and it just creates a nice, thin, nice, smooth, like area of color. I realized that I can't really use alcohol markers on mixed media paper because it just absorbs too much and I just end up using a lot more alcohol inks than I would want to. So these clean color real brush pens are much more preferred. Water-based pens will definitely leave like streakiness. You'll see in this live stream session, you can layer with these pens, but you have to be okay with a streaky look because it's going over itself and it's creating, darker areas. It's like using a highlighter when you go over it again, like it's, it creates a darker layer, right? So it's the same thing. So if you don't like that look, then maybe these are not for you. So they're not going to be as smooth as you might want it to be. I haven't really tried these as much on just straight up watercolor paper. So perhaps if you were to blend it out, it'll probably be better. But since I'm using mixed media paper, I'm trying not to use as much water and I'm just kind of quickly, scribbling and yeah. And because of that, you tend to see a lot of streakiness. But again, for my purposes, like I really am using it just for like my base layer, maybe a little bit of detailing here and there. But for my purposes, like these are working out just great. I've also realized through my mixed media journey that I really like lighter colors. So to finish off this video, I want to show you how I use these for my quick sketches. So I'm creating 4 landscape scenes, and as you can see, like I like dipping it in the water, I like fading out the colors, and you can also tell that after you, like even after you dip it in the water, like it's only going to be a light value for a little bit because more of the ink is going to come out. And so you're going to go back to having a darker or the fully saturated value of the color. So if you want it to stay light, you can either mix it separately in a palette or just keep dipping it in the water. But these are just really quick sketches, so I'm not really thinking about what I'm doing. I'm kind of planning, kind of not, but I'm keeping it really loose. Now for these landscapes, I'm only using the clean color real brush pens, but you can obviously add more details with colored pencils, with the Caran d'Ache Neocolor 2 wax pastels, acrylic pens. You can really use anything that you have on hand. But for this video, again, I'm just kind of focusing on these. But yeah, you can just see just how like fun it is to just quickly sketch out something, like not really, focus on the details and trying to perfect every single little thing, but just really focusing on shapes, on values and shadows, and again, like I said, I'm just having a blast with it. So thank you so much for watching. I hope this was inspirational and informative as well. And if you're also on a mixed media journey, let me know in the comments. And if you've used these pens before, let me know about your experience. I'd love to hear about it. And like this video if you want to see more stuff like this. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.